Okay. Can anyone hear me? Let's see if anyone can hear me. I finally have bubbles down here. So it looks like my microphone's reading a little bit. About now. How is everybody doing in this quarantine situation that we're all living in? The weather sucks. I can't ride motorcycles. Yeah. Blows. Cool. I have confirmation that you guys can hear me. Awesome. Thanks. Cool. So, yeah, I had a bunch of questions recently on gear, on setup, and I'm like never going to make a video that I'm going to actually on all of my gear. Be like, this is what the jacket does, and here's how many zippers it has. And like, I feel like you should go check out Revzilla because Anthony does that best. So, I did like a light review when I got home with my new touring jacket, which is still pretty exciting to own and have because it's going to be a little more versatile on long distance trips. But overall, I'm just probably not going to review, just create a series of videos to review jackets and stuff where other people that do that professionally are going to give you a better job. So yeah. What I can do is answer some of your guys' questions about my specific stuff because that's been coming up a lot. So the tricky part is I only have one camera feed to kind of show all of you guys this stuff. And mostly what I have to do is hold it up and try and go through it. So I've laid out some of the components specific to my helmet that I'll be able to kind of walk you through how I put them in without actually tearing my helmet apart. So we'll get into that in a little bit. And then I also had one of the guys that I met in June of last year in San Diego, really cool cat, reached out to me last week and said, hey dude, I had a few questions, planning on getting a motorcycle and I need suggestions for a first bike. I generally like sport bikes, but I also like the option to be able to take 2-hour trips and so forth. And then we went into a pretty lengthy conversation on a bunch of different questions, which I tend to get an awful lot between, YouTube and Instagram and all that stuff. So I figured I would kind of go through them all since we're all hanging out in quarantine with nothing better to do but watch movies and hang out together. So plus this gives me a chance to do something a little different. So I enjoy going live with you guys. So that said, how's everyone doing? I know a lot of folks are trickling in here and there, but you're welcome to open up some dialogue in the chat if you want to ask me a question or just hang out or whatever. I was talking with one of the subscribers that I know IRL, who's a friend of mine, and he has a really, really awesome eye for photography, basically. I know I was talking to him about what to do and where to go to take some pictures or where would be a cool place to jam out outside of the usual city rides and motovlogs between work and home and stuff. And it was kind of a cool conversation because he gave me some pretty good ideas. But he was asking about my helmet setup. Hey, how do you do all the video shit? Because I mostly just take pictures and I don't really do any of the vlogging stuff, but it seems like it could be fun. And I was like, well, yeah, I'll get into it. So basically I have a lot of questions to go over. The first and most unavoidable question for people that are starting motorcycling or one of my best friends reached out this morning and said he's looking at getting a scooter and he's going to need some gear. So we'll start with the unavoidable question, what's the best beginner bike? And I think a lot of that has to do with you, the specific individual. So before you even decide, like, am I more of a cruiser person or a sport bike person or an adventure bike person? And I think you're already going to know that in your head before having to like walk it out or talk it out, you know, like whatever image conjures up in your mind about motorcycling when you think about it. You're already, if you're interested, going to know what kind of bike you want for sure. But I think it comes down to your body size and your experience, first of all. So if you're a bigger person and you have never done motorcycling before, or especially if you're a bigger person and you have done motorcycling before, or you're pretty experienced on two wheels, whether you had dirt bikes as a kid or even, you know, bicycling a lot, you're not going to want to start out on a super small bike. Period. You're going to outgrow it in a weekend or less. And that's it. Like, so am I recommending a 250 to literally anyone that's starting? Probably not. I think it's too small. I think it's just barely enough power, I believe, in the US to even get on the freeway with. So you're not really going to get out of anybody's, like, any harm's way or anybody else's way on the freeway or the main roads if you're commuting on this thing. So I flat don't think it's a good idea unless you're a very, very small person. And if that's all you need, that's all you need, because they're wonderful on gas mileage. They're great around town, albeit kind of small and tough to see for other cars. But I was talking to this guy I met, and I was like, hey, man, honestly, I think your best bet is to get a 650. Like, if you like sport bikes, but you also want to be commuting around and you want to take 2-hour trips and shit, it's fast, but not fast enough to terrify you. It's going to give you enough room to grow a little bit. Hang on, buddy's chatting with me real quick. Live now. And sorry, I had like 6 or 7 I'm lives. Quarantine stir crazy from Aaron. I know. Yeah. Learning a foreign language. We don't learn French. Learn Spanish. 650 is the way to go. You're going to grow into that bike a little bit. If you're a very avid motorcyclist, or you want more power, or you want longer touring, you're going to want to divorce that a little bit and either go full on sport bike or go full on like touring setup, or get, you know, just whatever the next step up is. But spend a lot of time on that, and that's going to get you there. It's going to be fast enough to move the spirit a little bit. It's going to be light enough to kind of throw around, especially if you're a bigger person. But here's the deal. Some of them are a little taller than others. Some of them are a little shorter. Like the Kawasaki Ninja 650 is just about the perfect beginner middleweight sporty bike. It's not really a super sport. It's not a full-on upright, you know, lazy days touring bike. But a lot of you guys that have watched this channel know that that's the bike I started this channel on. And I love it. I put like between 15 and 20,000 miles on it. It was like 17 something when I sold it. But it's amazing. It's an awesome, versatile bike. It's very forgiving, and get ABS, because most modern bikes have ABS anyway, and you're going to do much better. But if you're starting out, I think that's the way to go. So I'm getting blown up here. Bayonet Pop says hello. But you look at the 650 bracket and you've got the Ninja, which is versatile and forgiving and comes with or without anti-lock brakes, which is a good thing. You've got other bikes like the Suzuki SV 650, which is like the perennial everyone's first bike kind of thing. But the trick is parts are everywhere. You can beat the living shit out of these things. It's an awesome first bike, and they're not going to break down on you. They're not going to fall apart. They hold their resale value. So if you do take care of it, you could probably sell it for what you bought it for. You'll find them everywhere on Craigslist as a good first bike. You don't have to go out and buy it new. And that's, that's my first step on, which body type, what kind of bike are you going to be riding? If it's a cruiser style bike, you can get a Vulcan 650 middleweight. You can get, I think some of the older Boulevards come underneath 800cc, and sort of like your body type, right? Like, are you a bigger guy? Are you an older person? Are you a younger person? Like, what kind of motorcycling do you gravitate toward? The second is, what's your use case for it? Are you just riding it to save gas and go to work? You'll save gas, but you'll spend a fuckload of money in gear. Just know that it's the worst drug addiction you'll ever have if you really get into it, because you'll find a different helmet and, different gloves and whatever. But what's the use case for the bike, right? Are you just weekend warrior? Are you only going to ride this thing every weekend, just into the sticks, and that's all you're going to do? Or are you going to be on it every day, finding excuses to ride it? I have to go back to the grocery store just so you can get on the bike. Like, are you in traffic a lot? What's your area, and what's your use case? So I think for that, that's why I continue to recommend, like, for especially this specific use case. Hey, I like sport bikes, he says, and I want to be able to take longer trips on it. Cool. So it's sporty, it's upright enough, it has a plush enough seat. It's your first bike, so it's not going to be something that's unbelievable to try and maintain. It's not a 750 and 800 or 1000cc bike. Some people say, hey, just go straight to a super sport. Super sports are kind of purpose built for the track, and while you can ride them with relative confidence after a little bit of experience, they're kind of a pain in the ass because the brakes are razor sharp, so it's very easy to over brake in cornering and stopping. And the power band is so high up in the rev range. I mean, you got to wring that thing's neck to really get, over 6,000, 7,000 RPM. That's where you start to get into the real power band of those bikes. And it's because they're kind of purpose built for tracks. So if you bring that down to, hey, my use case is that I'm riding it to work every day, and I'm going to be commuting a lot on it, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because you got to be real high up in the power band. And around the city, especially in where I live in Seattle, like, you're never going to see fourth and fifth gear. You really aren't. And it feels like it's almost kind of a waste of a use case. Now, that's my personal opinion on a commuter style bike. If you're getting it because you want to get into tracks, or because you're the weekend warrior guy that's just going to shred mountain corners, fucking get a super sport. That's perfect. Do I think it's a great first bike? Probably not. The one thing I can say, though, is you're not going to be doing 2 or 3 hours on that bike comfortably, because I swear to God, the older you get, the harder it is to sit on those things. And, they have clip-on bars that are kind of angled down. So already not only are you hunched over, but like you're way, way, way down there. That does a number on your back, because the whole time the suspension is rotating and moving up and down on the back of the motorcycle. That's just like all those vibrations are going into your spine. So I swear to God, you're not going to last a whole long time if it's like, oh, I do 3-4 hours a day on a bike. Not a good call. So if you can do it, you can do it. You certainly can when you're young and you want to look cool and go fast. Absolutely. So beginner bike. Middleweight's good for sporty bike. I'd say put a year or more on it, beat the shit out of it. And then you'll find what you like and what you don't like about motorcycling. Go test ride a few more for your next bike and either step up or move into a lateral position, whatever. Cruisers. The only thing I can say about cruisers for first bikes, when you go over a certain size for the engine in cruisers, the price dramatically jumps. That's with every brand. Specifically, I would say especially Harley Davidson, but every single brand of motorcycle gets astronomically more expensive when you get over that middleweight hump, right? So when you move from like a 650 800cc class bike up to 1,000 or more, or with Harley you get into the 1,600 cubic cent, whatever. The bigger the bike, the more expensive it is with cruisers. They come with a lot of different features. If your jam is, I do the weekend riding, but I'm only going to cruise, I'm not going to put a lot of miles on it, looking cool, feeling cool, those kinds of things. Like, pretty much insert any brand name of motorcycle here. The larger the cruiser bike, the more expensive. Also, the heavier it is. Cruiser bikes are not light machines. I've ridden my dad's Harley. This channel, even I was on a full size fat. I always fuck these up. Fat Bob or Fat Boy, whatever the bigger one is. I rode that. I did a whole series on that on this channel where I rode it from Spokane to Seattle. Heavy fucking bike. A lot of fun. You don't have to move a lot. You're not, being super physically active on it, like leaning in and out of corners and stuff. You're kind of just way back here and you're just taking life in as it comes. There's some amount of appeal to that I do understand, having ridden it for 4 or 5 hours, where before I was like, whatever. They are pretty cool, but they're heavy. I mean, that bike was every bit of 800 pounds. So if you're new, let's go back to the body size thing, right? Like if you're new, I'm not sure that's the best idea, especially if you're a smaller framed human, because you got to put a foot down at a stoplight. You got to balance the weight a little bit. The faster you're going, the easier all motorcycles are to maneuver and to stay balanced. So, but when you're slow turning, you're stopping, you're learning how to maneuver in and out of traffic, how to work the friction zone on the clutch, how to take off at stoplights and stuff. Take that into consideration. Go sit on a few, keep the kickstand down, lean it around, figure out if that feels comfortable. If you're confident enough to test ride it. But take that into account. They're more expensive. They're quite a bit heavier the bigger they get. But with cruisers and shit, you get the niceties of like, some of them have radios in them. Some of them have espresso machines in them. I don't know what they have in them. But like speakers and big fairings for wind protection, all that stuff. What's another thing for best beginner bike? Price. Price is another big factor. That was what I later on asked him, like, hey, what's the budget you're looking at? And in this case, it was like, I think up to $9,000. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like you can get a brand new bike for $8,000 in the middleweight category that fits I want to travel 2 or more hours at a time on this thing. And I want it to be a sports bike, or I like sports bikes. So the other thing is you could probably spend, $5,000-$6,000 on a like new or lightly used with not very many miles on it. And you could spend the rest of that money on gear. And that was kind of the approach I was taking, was like, well, hey, dude, you don't. Let's see here. I'm getting peppered with folks. Yeah. Sorry about this. I'm live now. Can you all still hear me okay? I know I got a few lurkers in here. Aaron, can you still hear me? Yeah, cool. Appreciate it. Where was I? Oh yeah. Spend lighter amounts of money on a lightly used bike. Go meet the seller at a dealership to have a pre-purchase inspection done, so you're not getting fucked by somebody who blew the engine up or something. I did it when I sold my Ninja. I met the guy up at the a local Seattle shop, and he paid for the pre-purchase inspection and was like, yep, I'll take it. So, now you're 6,000 down, you got 2,000 in your pocket. What do you do? That kind of leads into the second question. How much to spend on gear and what kind of gear is the best? That's a really, really, really tough question, because I've spent a ridiculous amount of money on motorcycle gear over the whole entire time I've been motorcycling. I started with what I thought would be practical, that looked really cool. Those didn't work for me. I think I got like leather overpants that were full, like, I think it was like almost 2 millimeters of cowhide. Like Icon made these old leather, and they like zipped all the way down. They were overpants. They zipped all the way down, and they were fucking so heavy. It was miserable heavy. So now I'm wearing boots. I'm wearing jeans. I got these overpants on. The sun comes out. I'm just dying. It's hot. It's miserable. it turned out to not be as great as the commercial made it sound. So get a helmet, get boots, get gloves, get a jacket. Those are the big four. Do they all have to be the best of the best? Not really, but you can think of some good brands, like affordable brands. Icon's good, Scorpion's good. Right now, I'll pull it up. Revzilla has a Scorpion. I think it's a R710. R710 Scorpion. And the helmet is a full face helmet, and it's like $100. Yeah. Other good brands, HJC, those can be affordable. That's kind of the market entry. Okay, so the R420, that's it. The R710 is still $200. The Scorpion XO R420 helmet is $149 right now. Can smoke and deal. Great locking mechanism. It's a full face helmet. It's an awesome sport bike helmet. It's Snell rating approved, so it's not just the DOT rating, which is amazing. It's such a killer helmet. It comes in a few basic colors, but check them out. $150. It's rated like 4.5 out of 5 stars by 230 different people. Like awesome entry level helmet. So helmet, jacket, gloves, and boots for sure, right? Like pants you can get. I would recommend getting pants with armor in them. You can go to like Cycle Gear and get them for $100 and just get basic something that's not going to melt your jeans into your skin when you're riding, shit like that. Higher abrasion resistance, but they also have impact protection. That's a big thing. Gloves, because your knuckles will get beaten up and they'll freeze off when they're exposed to the wind when you're riding. And then a jacket, obviously. You want to get something on your arms and shit. Like I see people, especially where I live, riding up and down toward the beach with sandals on and shorts and shit. And it's like, dude, you've obviously never wrecked a bike because your skin will melt off when you hit the pavement, even at low speeds. What's up, Prinzy? Thank you for stopping by, my dude. So what's the right price? Like, how much should I spend on gear? The best gear? Again, situationally dependent, like the best bike. You know, is it cruiser? Is it sport bike? Is it, you know, are you adventure touring, dirt biking? What are you doing? So the right price, this is going to sound dark. And I say it to everyone that asks, like, hey, what's the right, how much should I spend on my motorcycle gear? It's like, well, how much does it cost to get airlifted to the hospital? Like tens of thousands of dollars. Like, it doesn't matter. The point is spend as much money as you possibly can or want on your motorcycle gear. It's entirely up to you. You can buy all the stuff with the technological features, this and that. I did it. I bought a whole bunch of shit. What I can tell you is that you learn with each time you do something, like what works and what does not work. You know, I bought the most highest tech fucking crazy bullshit that I possibly could. And I'm like, this is pointless. I don't use this. It's a waste of time. It was a waste of money. It doesn't work well. So for that, it's like, you don't have to have the best of the, because somebody else said it was the best. Like, figure out some problem you need to solve. I don't like the amount of wind on my face. I don't like how loud this helmet is. Those kinds of things. Highest tech crazy bullshit. Oh, of course. Well, but we're all drawn to that, man. Like, especially if you're a new motorcycle rider, and you don't really have a good idea of like what works on the road very well, you're going to kind of buy into the hype and be like, holy shit. For some people, it's fucking awesome. But I like to find the middle of the road stuff that's pretty good at touring, pretty good at this, pretty good on for sport riding, because I take it into these situations a lot. I don't have a dedicated touring helmet that I've spent a whole bunch of money on that's super lightweight and all that. And I don't have a dedicated commuting helmet and a dedicated track helmet. Like, I need something that's going to kind of be not the best at anything, but like right in the middle, pretty good at all kinds of stuff. I can say I do have dedicated jackets now. Leather for the street is the best like abrasion resistance you're going to get if you go down. I have mesh jackets for the summertime because it gets hot underneath all that leather and or textile jackets. And I have a good textile now that I reviewed on this channel a little bit earlier for long distance touring. Things I can put layers underneath. I can insert waterproofing protection while I'm on the road because I'm on the road for 2 weeks, you know, and you see all these conditions. So I try to find, you know, I can't even remember the phrase, the jack of all trades, master of none kind of situation. I do have some specific gear, but I'll get into that a little bit. So we'll move on to gloves because I don't want to like break out my jackets and my pants and all that shit to go through them, or we would be here all day long. But the hands down best all-purpose general whatever glove, and I'll try and pull up a price right now as it's what, March 28th, 2020. Let me look at Alpine. Let's just search seller leather glove. Bam. There we go. All right, there's a version 2 out. Perfect. This is the Alpine Stars Cellar Leather Glove. It's a short cuff, which means your coverage and protection is only going to go up to here underneath your glove. So a lot of folks, especially racing folks, like you'll see in MotoGP, they have gloves that come like up to here. That's kind of what do they call, a gauntlet glove. Those are great, but they're highly restrictive for moving, you know, your arm around and stuff, your wrist around. Are they more protective? Absolutely. Do I recommend them if you're on the track? Absolutely. In fact, some tracks won't even let you not ride with long gloves. But for everyday sport riding, I tour in these, all general purpose riding. It's got little perforation holes so you can let the wind in. It's got protection down here. I think this is a scaphoid maybe. I don't know. Anyway, there's a piece of foam right here, because if you ever come off a bike, the first thing you're going to do is put your hands down when you hit the road. It's instinctive. If someone shoves you over, you're going to put your hands out to brace you when you're falling. Stuff like that matters. But they're still thin enough and they have a natural curve in the fingers enough that you're going to be able to hold on to your handlebars and it's not going to be uncomfortable. It also has really hard knuckle parts right here. I think this is TPU rubber and molded plastic or polyurethane. And it has a panel of gel underneath it. So it feels really good on your hand. It takes a little bit to break in. And then if you're wondering why there's a bridge right here with some extra leather, the extra leather coverage is, of course, for sliding if you're on the ground. But the bridge is if you go down on the low side and that finger gets caught on the ground, it's not going to rip off your hand. I know that sounds freaky, but that's exactly what that bridge is for. So if you actually come off the bike in a low side crash and you scratch and your hands go out like that, you don't want that finger getting ripped off. That's why they bridge it with these two fingers together. It doesn't impact anything when you're moving around on your controls. What's also kind of nice, even though I think it's sends an interesting message, is getting trolled. Is that it has a touchscreen finger on it, so you can actually move around with your electronic devices and stuff. There's a tiny little patch of right here that interfaces with phones if you need to. Still thin enough to feel the feedback of the bike. You understand what the bike is doing. And all this technology and package in a short cuff commuting glove for $100. Amazing glove. I've had 4 pairs of these, I think. And I got SP2s, I got full gauntlets, I've got all kinds of shit. This is hands down the best motorcycling glove I have ever used for general all-purpose, still flexible enough to move your arm around, full range of motion. If I had one nitpick about it, some gloves have seams that are external. These seams where the leather meets the leather, they're all stitched internally, and you can feel that up against the insides of your hands. So they do take a little bit to break in. And Alpine Stars gloves run about a size larger than they advertise. So these are extra larges. I wear a size large in every other brand except for Alpine Stars. I think it's the best $100 I've spent on motorcycle gear, period. So I have two other gloves I'll go over pretty quickly. Here's an Alpine Stars Dry Star Performance Glove. This has quite a bit more Thinsulate lining in it. It's going to keep your hands warm. It has leather bits. It also has the touchscreen finger, so you can, do what you need to do. I think what that would be great for dudes and dudettes would be moving around on GPS mostly. It has some reflectivity in the knuckles. Again, another hard part here. It still has those slide or impact protectors down there. But look at this. The stitching is on the outside of the finger. So because it's so cushy in there, you don't even feel that. The downside is because it's more like a fucking ski glove, it's harder to get the feedback from your bike a lot, especially when you're braking at first. So these take a while to get used to, but they don't take anything at all to break in. Great against the rain. But if you want to go the highest level of, rain protection, breathability, all that stuff, because these get awfully hot when it's nice out, you're going to want to step up to Gore-Tex, which is wildly expensive. I think these Dry Star gloves were $150. The other kind of nicety on the left finger where the throttle hand is not, it has a little squeegee stitched into the index finger, so you can take your finger and wipe your visor off, which is very genius. Kind of hard to get used to, but when you actually get the seal, slide it over, it's really good. I do have a pair of Gore-Tex gloves. These are for deep into the winter time. These are pretty technical, but when it's nighttime and it's cold and miserable out, you want Gore-Tex. You want the highest level of protection you can get, and you don't want to freeze your ass off or your fingers. So these are, I can't remember the model of these. Is there a tag in this one? These are Polar Gore-Tex gloves. I think these were $200 gloves. They are my favorite cold weather glove of all time. Not only do they have Gore-Tex and some Thinsulate in them, they're actually not as thick as the rainproof ones, and they hold up way better in deep cold. So still has that bridge between these two fingers. It's got extra reinforced leather. It's got the impact panel. And you could tell I'm kind of a fan of the short cuff glove. So you can really get lost in the weeds with gear, you guys, because each of these are sort of purpose built for different stuff. The ones I ride in the most are my leather gloves, hands down. So, I mean, you can really get away at like what, 200, 350, 450. That's $450 worth of gloves right there. Just 3 sets of gloves, just for some perspective. So how much can you spend on gear? A lot. Going back to helmets, you can find good helmets. Scorpion, HJC, Icon. These are good, like entry-level lids. Icon's kind of known for entry-level to more intermediate. They have really cool colorways, really cool graphics. They're like kind of geared more toward the sport bike community, I would say, more than anything else. They don't really have good touring options and stuff. You get into like premium level helmets, Shoei's, Arise, some top line HJCs, Schuberth. These are all really expensive brands. The owner of that Harley I bought, let's restart that. The owner of the Harley Davidson on my channel that I did the series about recently bought a Schuberth helmet. I can only imagine if she didn't find a sale for that. I think it retails for $700. Schuberth. I'm going to fuck that up. Schuberth. The C4 Pro from Schuberth is $700. What are you paying for? It's very quiet inside of that helmet, and it's very light. It's very lightweight. Some of the Schuberth helmets, I think most of them are, if not all of them actually, are modular helmets. So the types of helmets you can get are like those brain buckets you see some of the Harley guys wearing. Get 3/4 helmets that go down around the back of your head and then just come up right here. Some of those have visors. You often see police officers, moto patrol guys in those. And then the full face helmets. There's two kinds of those. There's the full face that doesn't move like I got. And then there's the kind that it's called a modular that the chin bar pops up. And I've had both. I started with the modular because I thought it would be really cool to just not have to take my helmet off, move it up, have a conversation, do what I got to do. And it's worth it. They're especially great for touring when you don't have to take your helmet off a lot, but you do have to pump gas, talk to people when you stop, that kind of shit. People argue that there are some weak points on the pivot points of the helmet and the chin bar where it rotates on. If you were to go down in a crash, that would be the first thing to break, kind of thing. And maybe they're right. They're still a safety rated helmet. Most of them, if you're buying them from a reputable retailer and they have a Department of Transportation sticker on them, they're going to at least be held to that standard. Some of the other standards, ECE, Snell, these are kind of world standards and racing standards. They're better than the DOT standard for the rigorous amount of testing they put the helmets through in order to get them certified for said standard. Are they ultimately necessary for your first helmet? Probably not. But again, like if you've got the money and you want to buy whatever, hey, I can spend whatever. I don't have that budget is not as big of a concern to me. Like you can look into some of the more premium helmets to start off with. What makes a helmet more premium besides price? Well, the materials it's made out of, the safety rating, like I just discussed. What else? The interior material, some of the features that they have. So my buddy Large Entity, who's on a lot of my moto vlogs and goes touring with me to California on the PCH trip every year, he has a really premium modular helmet. Loves it. Like he enjoys his modular helmet. He likes the features and functionality. He has a little slider on it. He pushes forward and some sunglasses pop down out of the top of it, which is really cool. So he doesn't have to buy a bunch of different shields to replace for daytime, for nighttime, whatever kind of riding you want to do, or wear sunglasses underneath it. All of that, you can get lost in the weeds with that. But I'll go through mine. I have a premium helmet, but it's kind of like the entry point to the premium helmets. This is a Shoei RF 1200 helmet, and I've put some stickers on it. I've got a GoPro mount on it, which we'll get into. I have a shield that gets darker when the sunlight hits it, which is really cool. You got your boy's channel logo, and I have a communicator on the other side. So communicator lives over here because you can operate that with your non-throttle hand a lot, which is cool. And it's got some cool insides that are all kind of premium. I like to wear the chin curtain because it kind of deletes more of the wind noise that's in there. And additionally, I've got all my microphones and stuff for moto vlogging and communicating in there. There's a microphone here and there's one there. I ride with Cardo now. I used to ride with Senna a lot. And I've got it all kind of wired up. And this is the connection point for my microphone for the vlogging setup. So basically, when I don't have the camera on there, I can sort of tuck this under the chin curtain and just ride regularly, which is great. Or I can mount my camera to it. So I love this helmet. This is the second RF 1200 I've owned. Fits my head really nice. Shoei makes really good stuff. They're relatively durable. The insides take a while to break down. The materials they're made out of have antimicrobial material in there. It's supposed to help aid against, you know, good sweat wicking, but help aid against the grossness, essentially. You still got to pull all that shit out and clean it, which is kind of a pain in the ass, but that's it. RF 1200. So what else can I say about gear? Cover the basics. Cover your head. Cover your hands. You don't have to spend $1 million to get the job done. Spend as much as you want. Don't worry about that. I mean, it's your head. You don't get another head. You get one head. Protect that head. I like to ride with a full face, non-modular helmet. It's harder to get on and off than would be a modular that you can, you know, kind of slide into a little easier. It's harder to wire up cameras and communication gear into because there's less moving parts to kind of move out of your way. It's got some downsides compared to the functionality of other helmets, but generally, I like the safety. I like the peace of mind. It's pretty lightweight. It's pretty quiet overall. But yeah, let's get into the motovlogging stuff. Spend as much as you want on gear. Those are my favorite bits. My helmet, my gloves. I love them. We'll start with cameras first. My least favorite camera is this GoPro 360 camera, the Fusion. It's got a lens on both sides with no cover, so you kind of have to delicately set it down in a case when it's not in your hand so you don't scratch those lenses. All the editing software I use takes this footage and spits it out in 2D instead of 3D. So you're forced to use GoPro or spend high dollars on like top-end Adobe products with the appropriate plugins. I never use this camera. It's challenging to work with the footage. It requires 2 SD cards, one for each side of the camera. The batteries are unique. If 360 video is where we're going someday, then this is a cool first start on how to get there. But it's very cumbersome. It's very hard to figure out how to use. It's even harder to fucking edit. It's a tough use case. I hate this camera because I don't know what I'm doing with it, and it takes insane patience and time to try and figure it out. And then even if I do, I don't know how I'm going to crop 3-dimensional footage that you can scroll around in a regular storyline. So it's got to be like its own video file, which means you have to think ahead how you're going to place your shot, what you're going to use, what story are you trying to tell. All that stuff matters a lot more, I think, in this. Or just walk around, hold it above your head, and capture some footage and be like, you know, hey, that's it. I'm going to produce that and send it out into the world and whatever. Cool feature. I guess I kind of do regret buying this. It was a great deal, so I didn't spend like full retail on it. I just don't know how to use this ever. I don't know what I'm going to use this for. So there's that. My other 2 cameras, most of what you see on my face on the channel comes from a GoPro Hero 6 Black. You probably watched me lose this camera on the San Diego freeway, whatever it was, 2 years ago, and it blew up and I lost it, so I had to buy another one. This is, I still think, the most expensive Hero series camera they've ever released, because by the time the 6 rolled out, they launched it at like $600. Now they're launching the new ones at like 400 or 500, like the 7 and the 8 and all that. So I spent $600 for this camera twice, actually. I love it. It's got stabilization that's not as good as the Hero 7 Black, and the reason for that is mostly the processor. But your neck is a natural stabilizer. So the stabilization is good enough for a face-mounted camera for the 6. If you're interested in motovlogging and you want to get quality stuff, but you don't want to spend tons and tons of money on your GoPro, or like don't know which one to get a Hero 6, 7, or 8. I don't think I would go with the 5. You can get the 6 for super cheap. Again, it's budget dependent, but if you're going to mount it to your face and you're worried about the latest and greatest and best stabilization, don't worry about it. If it's going on your helmet, get the 6. You're going to save a shit ton of money. Some perspective on the Hero 6 since we're together. Let's go to Amazon real fast. Again, March 28th, 2020. All these prices are probably subject to change. Let's see. GoPro Hero, if they even sell them on Amazon, Hero 6. $149.99 right now. Comes with e-commerce packaging, which means it's going to have a USB-C cable, the frame case it comes with, a couple of mounts, 1 battery. That's what the e-commerce package, I believe, comes with. That's exactly right. Oh, and a mounting buckle. Okay. How did I lose my first one? I mounted it to the motorcycle. I was riding down the San Diego freeway and it sheared right off. The camera and the frame mount that it comes with sheared right off. So if you're going to mount this to your face, you're going to need to get a different mounting solution for this camera. And I will get into that right now. Actually in a second. I also own a Hero 7. I don't use this as much as the 6 because the settings are where I've got them where I want them. It does just fine for my face. And because the Hero 7 Black has a lot more image stabilization because of the processor, it's a little bit more advanced. I can put this camera elsewhere. It'll take a beating more. Here's my natural stabilization with my neck and what comes in the software here. This one I can put on the bike. I can, put it down toward the frame. So, if you guys watch some of my specific to my California rides, you'll see that picture-in-picture perspective where the whole horizon line of the earth changes when I'm riding like this because it's hard mounted to my bike. The camera's locked into position. That's the Hero 7. Very smooth. And I ride a V4, right? So the vibrations are nuts, but this will get the job done. If you have this as your static camera that's on a bike that's vibrating like this all the time, it does a wonderful job. I say put the more expensive image stabilization in the harder spots where it's going to take more punishment because it's obviously going to come out better. The shots come out wonderfully. I don't do any anti-shake editing in post. I will do color correction here and there. But it would take me 4 or 5 hours to get through the camera settings of each of these and why I have them set that way. So at the sake of rambling on, I have a Hero 6, which is mostly what you see off my helmet. I have a Hero 7, which is mostly what you see off my environment camera or my motorcycle camera. Those are the 2 I run with. So, at $150 to $200 to pick up a Hero 6 Black new with the e-commerce packaging, and you're starting out and you want incredible footage that you can load to YouTube, for example, or wherever you post it, I would say that's fucking more than perfect. Get a Hero 6. If you want something a little bit better that's now a little cheaper because the 8 is out, grab yourself a Hero 7. So let's talk about that mounting solution. Look at this crazy piece of shit. Oh my God. That looks nuts. Well, if you want to hear what I'm saying, because this is mounted on the outside, I need a microphone. And you can't, in the Hero 5, 6, 7, and now 8, you can't plug a microphone into your GoPro. You have to have a mic adapter. Here's where it kind of sucks. If you get a 6 or a 7 or an 8, you need this chunky ass microphone adapter from GoPro. There are no aftermarket solutions for this. You have to buy this one from GoPro. We've talked about this on the channel a little bit, but I wanted to give you some perspective. This is the size of the mic adapter right next to the actual camera. So, like, if you're stoked that the form factor of your Hero camera is all you're going to need and it's small enough to put where you need it, well, now you've got extra shit to worry about, right? So I bought a case kind of like this one where essentially I've got the opportunity to mount the camera, and then on the exact same bracket I can mount my my mic adapter, right? And then this plugs into that. And then on the other side, your mic plugs into your mic adapter. This is great for vlogging, right? Like I can pin this to my chest. I can walk around. Camera can be way off my body and you can still hear me just fine. But that doesn't correlate to motorcycling because now you've got this giant fucking thing on your face and you got to wire this up. And it's a pain in the ass. That's why I was resistant to move to the GoPro ecosystem for a long time, was because of all the shit that you have to figure out. Not only buy, but figure out as you go. So this is kind of what I came up with, is this mounting solution. And basically, this is how it looks on my face. Bam. So I've got the camera angled up when my head's down a little bit. When I'm riding, you're going to see a more straight shot. It still kind of floats and rotates when I move my head side to side. And that wire that we kind of went over that comes out of my helmet, I basically just feed that in there, plug it into my mic adapter like that, and my camera's in there and it's good to go. So let's get into this mounting solution a little bit. We've talked about the gear, we've talked about the cameras. Those are the principal two that I use. And now it's on my helmet. What did it take to get all this chunky bullshit, lapel microphone, camera, non-plastic chunky frame so it doesn't shear off my face and hit the freeway like my last one did 2 years ago in California. I bought a bunch of different pieces and put them together. So this is my Luxabel brand Hero 7 mount. And on the back here, it's got this nice retaining door, which I really, really like. Let me pop off my Hero 7 camera door. So you remove the retaining door, you feed the camera basically into the back like so. And then you put this retaining door back over it. This is really hard to do with a webcam. Snap that into place. So now the camera can't fall out. And this little screw on the side just pushes in and puts tension against the camera so it doesn't shake while it's inside of the frame. And then the front, it has a 52 millimeter screw off lens. So what's nice about this is that bugs and rock chips and all the stuff that's going to be on my chin that I'm running into, they're not hitting the lens of my camera. They're hitting pretty cheap screw off 52 millimeter lenses. That was my biggest, like, hey, how do I know if there's a bug on there? You're not. You just got to periodically wipe it off. It's a larger surface area. It's going to collect rocks and debris. Yes. How do I not fuck up my camera lens? Put it in a case. Put it in a case with a screw on top. I like this because I can buy lenses for cheap. I think this was like $12. Almost everything I shoot is through an ND filter. Almost all of the last year has been on ND4, and I can white balance inside the camera to compensate before I go out, depending on how much clouds and things are out and about that day. But the ND filter helps me with a more natural color in all of my shots in post. So that's only on the face cam though. I don't have the same setup for my my body cam. I put that in a diving case. So I shoot in flat color profile. I shoot mostly raw, depending on how long. Like if I'm touring, I might get some processing in there because otherwise those images are huge. Those files are huge. And I come home with terabytes of footage and stuff. So it's give and take, but a diving case, one that allows the GoPro to go deep underwater for a long time, is good because it's very heavy duty and it's going to protect your camera. So basically my adapter, I have one Velcroed to this corner bracket. Once I got all these pieces and I went online and I found the right screw sizes to mount these together without those heavy wing, like thumb nuts, the heavy screw in thumb brackets that come with GoPros. Yeah, just get the little hex head ones. I think this is like a size, whatever it is, 2 or something. I'll try and get that out on like Instagram or some shit. But I found a bunch of these that make pinning these mounts together a little more sleek and compact. Obviously, they've been subjected to a ton of weather, so there's rust on them and shit. I went with metal brackets all the way up, except for the one plastic collar that connects, that snaps into the helmet. And if you can, use the original GoPro ones instead of aftermarket snap brackets. The reason I say that is because the GoPro ones are going to fit the best because they're manufactured from the same supplier as the camera, but also this little rubber over bracket. When this snaps into place and you kind of tuck that in there, twofold, it helps kind of keep some water off of the connection point. Not that there's any electronics to worry about this far down, but it also presses out against those connection legs and shoves a piece of rubber in there. So the vibration is less, the seal is a little bit tighter. It's a better fit. It's got about, if I didn't have this fucking wireless microphone or wired mic adapter on here, I'd be able to get this a little bit closer to the helmet or have a little more freedom to position the camera up and down on this axis right here. So that's the only thumb screw I've left in there, is I can twist that out and adjust the rotation of the camera for the angle. And also if I have to pull this apart, I want this to stay in exactly where I left it. All the angles are set exactly to my helmet. But if I need to pull this apart, I can at least take the top off. So from there, now you got a camera in there. You got options to run ND filters. If not, this Luxabel case I got on Amazon, very cheap, and it comes with just glass right there. So it does come with something you can screw on for at least protection, if nothing else. So from there, this just snaps right into the GoPro in the C-type connector. I have this little rubber end cap cover in case it gets wet out and I don't want to take the camera fully off my face, or I have to take the camera out and leave the frame connected to my helmet with nothing in it. This at least gives me the chance to cover the wires. I know it's good dust seal. I don't know if it's waterproof, but every little bit helps. And you're not going to see that dangly piece in front of the camera ever. It's too short. There's no way that's going to make it inside of your shot. So since it's shoved up against your face, you're not even going to see it because you're inside of a helmet. Doesn't matter. This took me 3 months to figure out. So Luxabel was a different piece from the GoPro adapter, which was a different piece from the L bracket, which was a different piece from some other kit that I bought. I bought like 3 mounting solutions for a helmet and then took the best pieces out of those and created this. I think it's compact. It's the grievance I have with it is because it's metal, because I want that protection of not shearing off because of the wind forces. Like when I'm body mounted my last one, it's heavy, you know, so now you're riding with this on your face for a long time. It can kind of get fatiguing. I'm used to it now, so I've been doing it for a while, but you guys were wondering what's my motovlog setup. This is literally it. Some of the cool things about having a microphone plugged into there and this being on the outside of your helmet is you can run the option for GoPro and it's listening through your microphone inside your helmet. You can do stuff like GoPro start recording through your command through your microphone, and into the camera it will go. So now that, I don't know if I have that setting turned on, but let's try it. I'm going to plug a microphone into it, try it out. Let's see. So imagine the other end of this is inside my helmet. This is a Purple Panda lavalier microphone, by the way. Very cheap, like $20, $25 cheap, I think, on Amazon. Super, super awesome. I love Purple Panda lavalier mics. I bought 2 of them so far. So imagine this is my helmet and this is on the outside. GoPro start recording. I don't think I have the command turned on. Anyway, I do. I don't even have a battery in this camera. That's probably why. I'm going to try that out since we're live and hanging out together. Voice control. Let's go on. Yes. Okay. We're going to shut this off. Yeah. Okay. GoPro, start recording. GoPro on. I don't know the commands. I don't use it that often. Oh, there it goes. Anyway, you can do commands from within your helmet on your recording situation. What I end up doing while it's connected is I just reach up and smack that top button and go. So that is a lot of the moto vlogging that you see comes off the Hero 6 inside this case, strapped to that helmet. I have ND filters. I usually run an ND4. I like it. I do not run polarized filters because I don't like the headache of trying to get that right. I do like this Luxabelle case with a back on it that snaps into place that keeps your camera from flying out. It's not just a compression fit. And that's about it. So in terms of why I bitch constantly on my channel about GoPro needing to come out with a wireless audio solution is how cool would it be to put this in, you know, a heavy thermoplastic case or a metal case, strap it to your chin or the side or wherever you want to put it, even on your bike in front of you, and then just have a wired mic somewhere inside of your helmet or a wireless mic somewhere inside of your helmet that you can Bluetooth connect, for example, to this or whatever. They have Bluetooth that connects to your phone. I can control my camera off my cell phone, but they refuse to unlock the ability to have wireless microphones work with the Hero series cameras, only wired. And also you have to delete the waterproof ability of your camera by opening that door, taking it off, putting it in a case, plugging shit into it. So if I'm caught in a rainstorm, I run the risk of water getting into my camera and fucking frying the whole thing. So if it's thick rain, I'm not recording in it. I have to take the shit off, pull over, take all your stuff out, you know, move your camera out of harm's way. You know, if you're going to motovlog and you want high quality content, I recommend GoPro because they're the best. But that's the bullshit you have to put up with. That case, this microphone. Now I've got to buy a mic adapter. Is it going to fit? Now I have weight on my head, you know, all this chunky stuff. If these guys would just come out with a wireless audio solution for the action sports people, we'd be in way better shape. That's pretty basic stuff for my channel's camera setup. I have 3. I principally use 2. That's how it mounts to my helmet. So one more time. My communicator is over here. I used to do the all-in-one. We've talked about that a lot before, why I don't do that anymore. I love Senna. I started my channel on Senna. I'm on Tacardo. Senna needs to build a better all-in-one product, I think. So you wire up your I may as well just put it on. You wire up your microphone, you wire up your camera how you need to. Get it to the angle that you want. That's it. So that's what I look like riding. That's what I look like to other people when I'm riding. Ugh. And it's funny how people don't fuck with you when they see that there's a camera on your face. A lot of people cover their face. Some people like throw peace signs and jump out and stuff. It's interesting when you're filming people what they do everywhere you go. But that's as compact as I can make it. That's as structurally sound as I can make it. That's as light as I can make it while I'm doing it. Short of switching to like a plastic case. That's it. That took me a long time to get off the Sena ecosystem, the all-in-one, and try and switch to higher quality camera, but arguably same or lower quality audio. I'm still messing with audio in post. Getting a better microphone would probably be the way to go. I just don't see the need when I'm out in a helmet buying a very expensive microphone that is going to get potentially wet with condensation inside your helmet, or, you know, weather or whatever. So I run all this. I do have multiple ND filters for this camera body. I love that it has a screw on top. It's fucking awesome. So the communicator, I'll cover that real briefly. The communicator is tough because you've got to put a microphone in there. I recommend the boom microphone that most of your setups will come with, like a small wired button mic or this boom mic. The boom is a little nicer because it's a little tougher. It's got a little bit of a better mic. Can't remember the name of whatever the sensor. Little microphone bit in there is a little stronger, and you can mold this along the inside of your helmet's curvature just right, and it's going to stay there. With the button mics with the wires on them, you've got loose wires, or you got to put pieces of tape in there up the side of your face. It's not an ideal situation. This is obviously going to take up a lot more room. Sometimes if it's close enough, you'll feel it in your mouth, on your chin, in your nose, like it. However you position this thing, you're going to feel it inside your helmet. So try and move it away from being directly in front of your mouth, and also move it into a position where the wind, if you have an open vent, is not going to fucking like blow in your mic like that the whole time, or it's going to be bad time. It's going to be a bad day. In other news, the other side of your helmet communication system is going to come with speakers that look something like this. Behind the cheek pads of your helmet, for my Shoei, it's going to look just like this, are these little plugs. And basically, this fabric here is what's on the face, I guess, like that. And this plug covers up a natural ear cutout speakers that are in my helmet. So what I've done is you pull these out, you put a little piece of Velcro back in there. Most of the speakers have the hook side of a hook and loop Velcro situation, and you plug them inside of your speaker holes, and they usually rest up against your ears. You want those as center as you can get them. I also ride with earplugs a lot on long distance tours, and it makes it much easier when they're centered over your ear to get the best sound quality that you can. But what to do with this? It's going to be almost impossible to see inside of my helmet with this particular camera. Let's see if I can pull that out of the way. But rather than seeing a speaker right there, you'll see this piece of cloth. And the reason I was able to accomplish that is, rather than riding around where I can feel the speakers up against my ear, which have a different depth to them than the rest of your cheek padding on the inside of your helmet, what I did was I took these plugs out and I cut the insert piece off. So I have just this flat plastic snap piece where it used to fit in the helmet before the speaker, and then this cover piece over it. So what I did on the fronts of my speakers on this iteration is, right around the outside edge of the speaker, I put just a dot of Velcro, the hook side of a piece of Velcro I got from Amazon. And I was able to scratch off enough of the glue basically to get it to stick there on the inside of my helmet. And then I put this piece back in. So instead of this insert that used to be there, I've directly replaced that insert with the speaker. And I still have a flat, smooth surface profile for the most part. Like, it does kind of squirm around a little bit. But this way, when I put my helmet on, if the speaker isn't, protruding where it's going to hit your ear and shit, you can pop the speaker out of place. It can move around. It can cause some vibration. So I put the factory piece back in. I just cut off the foam bit that was on it. I adhered my speaker bit to it, and I tucked it back in as best I could. So now it's all smooth. So when your head goes into your helmet, You don't run the risk of popping the speaker out of place or off its Velcro hinge. It actually just slides down your head as it's supposed to. That took me a long while to figure out, but take your time with it. Get it centered over your ear. Practice makes perfect. I've wired up so many helmets between my buddies, my own. Like, I've probably put a communicator in 10 helmets easily. So you learn a few tricks as you go. Take your time with it. You'll get this situation out of there. Also, for some of the communicator systems, just as a final note, when you stretch, you put each ear where they go. You have a lot of this extra cable. Basically, when the ears are in, that's going to go over the top inside of your helmet like this. So imagine that this is your speaker setup inside of your helmet. You got some extra slack there. More often than not, this wire up here is also your FM radio antenna. More often than not for a lot of these, which means you're going to want that thing right over the top as best you can, because understand it's underneath your plastic helmet, or fiberglass or whatever it's made out of. But understand, the closer you get it to the top of your head, or maybe even the back, the better radio signal you're going to get if you listen to FM radio. So know that's a piece that I didn't really pick up on the first couple times I installed these, and the more you know. Dong, dong. Anyway, so let's put these aside. Also, these 3M glue back and Velcro front circles are the best of all time. You can take a pair of scissors and cut them up and use them in different parts of the helmet. Say you have different mount positions for your microphone. You want one down here. You want one a little up here. You want one directly in front of your mouth. Just put Velcro inside of there, and you could put the other half of the Velcro on the mic itself and just move it and stick it places. Like, it will save your life. It'll help you with stuff like this, getting those put together. All that stuff matters. So super helpful. Finally, this is my old Senna one, but you're going to have a mount position that you want on the left side of your helmet for your communicator. Generally, there's screws. This little back piece comes apart like that. You slide it underneath between the foam and the plastic part of your helmet, and then you screw it down, usually underneath the chin bar on this side. Put it on the left side. Your throttle hand is your right hand. Your left hand should be your free hand. That's going to help you a lot. So if you're looking to get into communication, hey, I want to talk on the phone. I want to be able to receive phone calls. I want to listen to music while I'm writing, all that stuff. Really wonderful. I recommend Cardo Pack Talk. Very expensive, but it's the best you can get for that. Yeah, that about covers it with gear. I would also suggest, if you're running cameras or motovlogging, get yourself a waterproof hard case situation for your SD cards that you can carry with you. If you lose this, you lose all your cards. So you run that risk. But I can put this underwater, dude, and I'm good to go. So understand that. So what else? We covered best beginner bike. Get something that is within your budget. Don't the smallest possible bike, I think, unless you're the smallest possible person. I recommend, for all sport bike enthusiasts or people that want to get into sport biking, maybe you look really hard at a 650 platform. Yeah, Cardo is much better than the Senna. I like the ease of the Senna's ecosystem with the jog dial and all. It's easier to control, I think. The Cardo, you have these 3 buttons that you have to like remember what each of them do and the sequence and a roller dial. But the quality is clear. The range is better. The music is louder. It's awesome. So 650s, the best of both worlds for beginner motorcycle. It is an intermediate motorcycle. It is a middleweight bike. I feel comfortable telling people to start on them. Be like, hey, it gives you some room to grow. You're not going to grow out of it. It's a good bike. How much do you spend on gear? As much as you want. What kind of gear should you get? All of it. But Your helmet is the most important thing. You get one head, protect it. Your gloves, or you're going to drive yourself insane. Your knuckles will break apart. It's going to suck. You can spend a lot on gloves. So just know motorcycle gear can get very expensive. I recommend getting pants with knee protection and hip protection in them. I didn't spend a lot of time on that because you can really go off the deep end going into the features and stuff. I recommend checking Revzilla for the reviews. Sometimes they're not the best price though, so you could find other online retailers. The thing with motorcycle gear, I know Aaron can attest to this a lot, is if you buy something online, you never got a chance to physically try it on. Oftentimes, it might not be the best fit for you, and then you got to worry about shipping it back and all the hassle that it takes to do that. Generally, Revzilla's their return policy is great as long as you don't ride in the stuff that you buy. You don't cut the tags off and shit. But it can be nice to go try stuff on. So check out your local motorcycle shop too. When fitting a helmet, what's the right size? Go to a motorcycle shop, talk to a professional, measure your head, get the right size. It's supposed to be snug. It's supposed to squish your face. It's not supposed to be so tight that after wearing it for a while and you pull it off, you've got red spots and hot spots, because you're going to be in that helmet for a long time and it needs to be comfortable. It needs to fit you properly. If you move it around and your head moves with it, you're good. If you move it around and the helmet's doing this and your head's not moving, it's not the right size. It's too big. Too small and you're not going to it's going to squish your head so bad. So get measured, tape measure around the crown of your head. Talk with some people, go pick out a helmet that fits you. Walk around in the store with it on for like 10 or 15 minutes if you can get away with it. Talk to people in it, breathe in it, move it side to side, shake it around, pull it off. Make sure you don't have like red marks on your forehead or the side of your head, or that it doesn't instantly cause a headache. All that stuff matters, because if you're on a bike, the last thing you want to pay attention to is your fucking gear. It's the best gear is the kind you don't really have to think about all that much. It's just instinctive. It's just part of you. All that stuff is very important, because you won't be worrying about your helmet size when you should be worried about traffic and shit. Let's see. Yep. Helmet setup, how to wire it up, the cameras I use, my gloves. I mean, we can get into like jackets and shit later on, but I don't know. I just figured it'd be cool. We're all coronavirused out right now. We're all locked indoors. I'm never going to produce a video on reviewing my own gear that I'm going to be proud of or that I'm going to like. I've done it 7 times now. And I review the footage. I'm trying to edit the vlog together. I'm like, fuck, I hate this. And so it's like, we'll just do it live. So if you guys have more questions about that, fucking hit me up. We'll go through it. We'll talk about it. See, I got some stuff coming in on Instagrizz. Checking it out. Yeah, dude. Yeah, so I don't know if Chase, if you're on, my dude. This is the homie I was talking about, like entering the motorcycle adventure. But yeah, man, I still recommend the 650. I still recommend all the gear that we talked about and stuff. I had a few questions about my camera setups and shit. So again, we should go over girl gear sometime. Yeah, if there's more than 2 things. Girl gear for motorcycles sucks. If you want to be a millionaire, design very flexible and multi-optional protective motorcycle gear for women. Because a lot of it is, here's a guy's jacket we rebranded and put pink on it, and now it's a girl jacket. And it doesn't fit at all. Yo, hell yeah, man. Welcome. But yeah, like the right gear is the most comfortable. It's the kind of gear that you don't have to think about when you're fucking riding. It can get super duper expensive. They're always going to add more technology. They're always going to add more. It's like, fuck, man, find what works for you. So perspective and they don't measure women's bodies. No, they do not. So perspective, the Shoei helmet that I'm rocking, this RF 1200, about $500 for this lid. As far as the features are concerned, I have an exhaust vent that I can control. I have 2-position chimney vents I can control. That's halfway open. That's all the way closed. And 2 ups all the way open. And I have a little brow vent right here. I can open and close that for some wind flow that goes across the top of my head. And there's, when this is open, this chin piece right here, it actually puts air on the underside of your visor. So it's for defogging and shit. It's pretty lightweight until I stuck a camera and a bunch of electronics in it. So understand that's the risk you run when you're motovlogging and shit. But to get the best look, that's why I set up my fucking system here. The cameras I'm using in that system are a Hero 6 on my face, a Hero 7 on the bike, just as a recap. I still don't know what the fuck I'm going to do with my 360 camera. So, but yeah, what do you think, Aaron, is the best solution for women's gear? It's got to be go to the store and try it on, right? Because, I mean, if you just take someone's word for it off the internet and you just buy gear, chances are very high you're going to have to end up sending that shit back. So, you know, you kind of run that risk. You get the best deals on the internet, like far and away, but I think that's the skinny. So what else? Best beginner bike, we covered a little bit. Depends on you, depends on your size and weight, how much to spend on gear, whatever you need. Helmet setup, we walked through my helmet setup, what it takes to put all that shit together. Camera setups, I did everything but my actual software settings inside the camera because that would take too long to get into. Chase says, here Shoei has the best warranty too. Yeah, dude, Shoei and Arai both. But again, with like the Schuberth, $700 for a C4 Pro. Arais are very, very expensive. Their top end stuff, you know, you can get into $700-800 pretty quick and easy. Shoei's good. My helmet will frequently go on sale off and on. I feel like the RF 1200 came out in 2016, maybe. So right now it's ranging, depending on the color and stuff. You can get it from like $400 to $500. Revzilla's got 10 colors. But do you need all that? Well, if you're just looking to ride, the EXO R420 helmet by Scorpion, amazing feature set, also Snell rated, which is fucking sick, $149.99. It's amazing. Just make sure it fits. Get the right head shape. Shoei does do pretty decent warranty stuff, unless you're me and you fucking put stuff in the helmet. So take that into consideration, dude. If you start putting communication systems in there, or you start wiring cameras to your face or gluing GoPro mounts to it like I've done, it's going to fuck your warranty up pretty quick. Yeah, you have to try on a bunch of gear. You have to try on a bunch of gear, especially women's gear. You know, everyone's body is different, even in men's gear, but like women's, like the seams around the bust are a huge problem if you have a large bust. The ability to get expansion gussets around the waist are impossible to get right. The pockets suck on women's jackets. They're super like shallow, like 2-inch pocket. Like, what are you going to fit in there? One car key, like one key, like the lip gloss pocket. That just, it's not functional. So go try on a bunch of shit. Again, not all brands run the same size. That's an amazing point. A size large in Icon will not be the same as a size large in Alpine Stars. That goes for guys and girls, but specific to women's gear a lot. Chase, what are your thoughts on AGV? I wonder how their company is doing, especially with COVID-19 and being based out of Italy. So, yeah, dude, AGV is owned by Dainese. I think that's how you pronounce that. Dainese. They're the same brand. Also an Italian brand. They do a lot more mass-produced stuff, but their target market is mostly the race helmet section. So I don't wear those, even though they fit and they look sick. They're probably the lightest weight as well. But because I run cameras and I want a quieter helmet, more padding, I want the ability in surface area to stick a camera and put earbuds in and stuff, or speakers, all that, really tough. Because race fit helmets like AGVs and stuff, dope brand, by the way, huge fan. Their Pista GPR Carbon, for example, $1,399 for that helmet. It's on sale right now for $1,000 at Revzilla. You can get obviously ones down in the $200 range too, but the head shape is a lot more narrow. The field of view is generally a lot wider, and it's generally geared toward, very aggressive sport riding. You're in the tuck a lot. Your viewport up high is much wider in those because it expects, you're in a tuck position. Great race helmets. I love the brand. Yeah, on sale for $1,000. For real, dude. Some of that stuff can get out of control. Like the Winter Test 2018 limited Pista GPR Carbon, $1,599.95 normal. And for 44% off, you can pick one up for only $900. That's a lot of money, dude. So how are they doing with the COVID stuff? I think everybody's getting hurt. The thing with most manufacturers, the motorcycle industry, for parts, for gear, and for bikes themselves, they're kind of slowing down. Like the sales haven't been good on bikes either over the last few years. Just the next generation of folks that are coming up are not buying as many motorcycles. So they're trying to solve that problem. Like, how do we get a better middleweight bike, a better small weight, and a better large weight bike? How do we get different kinds of bikes to attract different kinds of bike riders? They're not like really flying off the shelves. So while the supply chain for a lot of these helmets are probably getting rushed for the newest, latest, greatest models, the flip side of that is nobody's out shopping in the stores either. So I don't feel like there will be a super famine on a lot of that stuff until a few months from now, or days from now, or weeks, or however long it takes to get this virus shit out where we can be in public again, because it's going to be closer to summertime. People are going to be out taking their bike class, buying motorcycles, buying motorcycle gear, getting out there. If there's a backlog, or there's no backlog rather, and we're all buying that stuff up, then I think, yeah, we're going to see a bit of a shortage. But Dainese is very premium stuff. AGV is very premium stuff in their race segment for sure. I don't feel like there's going to be too much of a shortage if you're after some of that stuff. And if you are, dude, send me a picture of it if you pick one of those helmets up, regardless, because I'd like to see it. My buddy rides in one of their I think it's a Pista GP, but it's not a carbon version. So it's like it's for the discount price of like $700, but it's a cool helmet. They also have really dope graphics. Aaron says, for beginner, I suggest Icon Armada. It's a good price point. Lots of design options. 100%. My first helmet was the Icon Air Frame, and it didn't have as racy of a fit. It had a little more room in there. Had a huge spoiler on the back of it. It kept my head like really stable when I was in a straight line, whether I was tucked or up high. It kept my head from buffeting a lot on the bike. You could catch, when you're head checking a little bit, you can catch the wind, and it was a little interesting, but it had huge vents, 2 humongous vents, super vents right here that you could just slap open and close. And my God, it was so nice to have a rush of cold air when you open those up, pull all that heat off of your head. But the trade-off is that it was so fucking loud when you have all that road noise and whistling and stuff going through your helmet. It was insane. The Armada is a little bit better at that. I've moved on from Icon a little bit just because I like the what's this called? Pinlock? Yeah, the Pinlock shield with the insert. Icon does not yet offer a helmet with Pinlock, to my knowledge. It's anti-fogging. It's really nice. And this helmet's a little bit lighter weight. It's an amazing option. They look sick as fuck. It's a great commuter helmet. It does everything you need. You can put stuff in it. You can wire speakers into it. The designs are cool. You can get some really sick paint jobs on your helmet from Icon. They're dope. Definitely been looking at the K5s or the K6. Yeah, those are the more streetable non-race AVGs, AGV. Bleh. AGV. Let's see. Yeah. God, the Pista Double R. What a gorgeous helmet. But $1,500, dude. That's so expensive, you know? Holy shit, man. Let's see. Sale. Let's click on sale. Helmets, full face. AGV, 119 different models. Holy shit. Yeah. K5. K1 is like their entry level, it looks like, with the exposed plates. K5, solid colors, 419. Fuck yeah, dude. Let's click on it. Yeah, good ventilation. That chin bar is pretty extreme. I like the drop down glasses in there, dude. I like the safety rating on it. It's got really puffy looking inside to it. I'm not sure if the chin bar comes with a chin curtain. I like that mirrored shield they're offering with it too. I think the difference is if you're going to mount a camera to it, like mine, you're going to have to go real far off the side, which is going to be interesting with that heavy point to the front of it or whatever. But I see somebody with a GoPro mount in the middle. They've just put a bunch of 3M foam on the back to make it flat rather to fight that angle or whatever. Looks solid, dude. It's a good level of protection. It's what, 4.5 out of 5 stars on 76 reviews. Great brand. Fucking go for it, dude. Killer look. It's got a really sweet look to it. I like that that matte black. Obviously, I'm a matte black fan. Hard to keep fingerprints off that though, by the way. So if you're not trying to scrub the outside of your helmet all day, get a gloss one. Stickers look better too. Or an Icon for sure. I do have expensive taste, but it comes with time too. Like, you know, I rode with a built helmet was the first helmet I had. That modular situation was the first one I bought. It was, you know, $200 or whatever. It was chunky. It was heavy. It didn't like, it made a bunch of noise. The chin bar didn't sit on it right after like half a year. It was fucked up. So Pista RR on Amazon. No way. $600. Oh, no. It's a GP. Yeah, dude. It's super ugly. And it might only come in one size. It might be like, well, we're offering this one ugly ass helmet with this one graphic nobody wants that's only in a size extra small because we just need to offload it, and only very small percentage of humankind could buy this thing. That's the shitty part about looking at online sales too, is finding a helmet and you're like, that's it. It's the color I want. It's the size I want. It's fucking everything. And then it's only in size extra small or extra large available. You're like, fuck, man. So pay attention on all that stuff. But yeah, other things to kind of keep in mind would be to take the motorcycle safety class for you guys that are watching. You're going to learn a lot about bikes. Each exercise will build off of the last one. It will only take 2 or 3 days to complete the course. It only costs $100 to $200, depending on what state you're in. And you get a shit ton of insurance breaks by having that, because you took a class before you just went out and tested. If you don't have gear, no problem. They will provide it. They ask that you wear a long sleeve shirt and over the ankle boots, and that's it. Oh, and gloves. Bring gloves you can get at the hardware store or something. I bought my own helmet because I didn't want to put my head inside of someone's grody helmet that's been passed around from class to class. But if you don't want to go invest in gear first, you can have that stuff provided. Just wear a hairnet, whatever, spray it out with Lysol, get you some Clorox like I got back here. I'm washing my hands right now just thinking about it. It's coronavirus time. Don't spread that shit. But otherwise, you can get helmets for pretty cheap for starters. You can get mid-level. You can get whatever you want for gear, but you could bring that to the class, learn, get your license, go have fun. You'll save insurance costs by taking the class. It's valuable information. Go back and do the exercises at the end of the first year of riding. Go back and to where you took your class, go through all the exercises you remember going through. I mean, motorcycling is a perishable skill. You know what I mean? At some point, you're not going to be able to motorcycle. So continue working at it. Work at the roadcraft. All the technology shit will come later. Bigger bikes will always be there. More technological advancements will always be there. More expensive shit will always be there. So what I bought, trying to think. I rode dirt bike a lot as a kid because my neighbor had one. I rode four-wheelers a lot because my dad had one. Got a Buell Blast 500 single-cylinder thumper. Was my first bike. Moved up to Kawasaki Ninja, the 650. Rode the living shit out of that thing. I took it from Seattle to San Diego 3 times and rode it all 3 of those springs, summers, and falls. I put, I think, 17,000 miles on it when I sold it. I kept it in great condition. I put an exhaust on it, put bar end weights on it, put a different screen on it, did a whole bunch of crazy shit to it. This is fucking awesome. Very forgiving bike, super fun. I recently got back on one and was able to like really throw it into corners and stuff now that I'm used to a bigger bike. It was a lot of fun to go back and be like, fuck yeah, I kind of miss this middleweight. Great for commuting, great for distance, great for all kinds of shit. Again, the SV650 is a great option. The what is it? The Yamaha something F650. And then the Honda F650. Those are all good options. The Honda comes in a 4-cylinder. That's the only difference. Most of the other ones are 2-cylinder bikes, unless you get into super sports. The 600 class bikes are generally inline 4s. My bike is a 1100 RR Aprilia Tuono. So it has a 2-cylinder motor stacked on top of a 2-cylinder motor. So it's a V4, which kind of operates this way on a 65-degree rotation crank axis. And that's why it produces the sound that it does because of the firing order. So it's got torque low, it's got torque middle, and it's got torque high. But if you took all the rider aids off of my bike and just jammed on it, it's a lot to handle. It's a savage fucking motorcycle to ride. So, the FZ07 is a little different than what I'm thinking of. What is that Yamaha? YAMAHA Yamaha 650 Sport. That might work. What is this? Go to Cycle Trader. Speak to me, Cycle Trader. Who are you? FZ6R. That's the bike I'm thinking of. That was the other one I almost got. It's the FZ6R. Another great beginner motorcycle. That's on par with your Suzuki SV650s. It's on par with your Kawasaki Ninja 650s. The Honda, again, the 650F is a 4-cylinder. So it sounds better. It's got less low-end torque, a little more high-end torque. It's shaped a little more like a sport bike. Very attractive. I hate the fucking dash cluster on those things. It's like trying to read a digital watch from like the 1980s, dude. It's like, looks like this. Looks exactly like this. Let me turn on my GoPro. See all that? That's what the fucking dash of the Honda looks like right there. It's terrible to read because in the sunlight, the contrast does not change very well. And like when you're going through sunshade, 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 back and forth, and that's on your dash or whatever, it's very, very tough to read. I didn't like it, but the body lines of the bike are magnificent. Yeah, MT and FZ are so like the world chassis code for that was MT07, and for some reason in the States they marketed them as FZs. So they had the 7, the 9, and the 10. Now they've reverted back to MT, which is they should have just kept them. There was literally no difference other than one said miles per hour, the other said kilometers. Also, when I bought the Tuono, the MT10 was on my short list of other bikes to consider when I moved up. But like right now, bro, I'm looking at a 2012 FC6R that has 3,000 miles on it. $4,200, like right now. And granted, 36 miles away from me in Seattle and you in Southern California is a lot different, but these bikes exist, and 3,400 miles on it is nothing. That's like, I made it through my first break-in period and I had one oil change and that's it. So that probably means, and if it hasn't been dropped or beaten up or smashed, it probably means that somebody just outgrew that or got a bigger bike, or the other side of that, maybe they couldn't afford the payments and they just had to offload it. Another situation for a bike in this condition for that price could be they're military and they got deployed somewhere, so they had to get rid of their shit for hella cheap. But you could find really quality bikes for pretty cheap without having to spend top dollar brand new. If warranty is interesting to you, you probably want to get one new, I think, if you got the money to sling it, or if the miles I put on this bike, then obviously you're going to want to get one new there too. But it's a good price, man. So let's see. GoPro Studio is complaining about my connection being unstable. It's going to try and reconnect. Let's see if I jump back in here. There we go. Looks good. Yeah, it's not a bad price at all. Let's take a look. You were mentioning, since I got you here, you were mentioning the SV650 was the bike you were looking at, right? Check out cycletrader.com. We'll see if we can find not a very intuitive website. Jesus. Just give me a search, man. More advanced search. Advanced. Look for a Suzuki SV650. So brand new, it's a $7,000 bike. Pretty good. The fuel tank capacity is 3.83 gallons, which is great. At or close to 4 gallons is ideal for that kind of bike. I'm going to go back to the SV650. A lot of these are higher miles, dude. So here's a 2000, and this is a huge price swing, right? 2002 SV650, probably not going to have ABS on it. $2,500. Easy. 2017 SV650. This guy put 18,500 miles on it. $5,500. So imagine if you got your SV650 with low miles on it, you know, for 6,000. Let's call it $6,000 flat. You could turn around and sell it for $5,500 by the time you get to 18,500 miles on it. I mean, they just hold their value. Like, he's done nothing to this bike. It's bone stock, no exhaust. He didn't fuck with the motor. Pegs are standard. There's no scrapes on it. Doesn't look like it's been dropped. They hold their value a lot. A lot of motorcycles do. You know, one from 18 years ago, a 2002 SV650, 20,500 miles. for $2,500. I mean, this has a pipe on it. It's got an aftermarket sprocket. There's like a ton of shit that people, do. That's why I was saying, if you're going to buy a bike used, either meet somebody at a dealer that can do an inspection for pretty cheap, or get one of your homies that knows about bikes to go with you, just to be sure. A killer fucking bike to start out with. Killer bike. Here's a 2019 with 1 mile on it. That's the one factory mile. It's got the nice leather seat and the cool cafe front end on it. $6,300 out the door price. At Maxey's Motorsports, which says 1,500 miles away from me. I'd imagine that's way out of state. It is Oklahoma City. That's a lot. Actually, that's off my VPN. That's not even, it's more than 1,500 miles away from me. It doesn't know I'm in Seattle. So yeah, there's like a ton, dude, of options. Used, you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck. As long as you don't get stuck with a lemon. Make sure that you get that thing inspected before you buy it and ride it around. Make sure it's what you need. But those are my recommendations. That Honda looks good. I'm not a fan of the dash, but the body lines are amazing on it. The FZ6R is a great bike. I did ride that. That's also a 4-cylinder middleweight. Good quality stuff. The Ninja is my ultimate overall vote because I have so much seat time on the Ninja, and I know you can beat the shit out of it. I know you can get crazy on it. You can lean it over farther than some of the other bikes. The brakes are really good for Cowie brakes. They're not like Brembos and stuff. I think the one I had from 2013 had Nissans on it. Pretty good bite. Not a whole lot of fade. It's the right size. It had a, adjustable windscreen and shit on it for when you're touring. You can put that up, get the wind off your face and your head a lot better. You could take it down a little bit when you're around town. The bars are adjustable, so you can kind of pull them down a little bit more if you want to. You can raise them right up if you want to. It's still a sport bike. It's not a super sport, but it's pretty good. The parts are everywhere. It's one of the most modified bikes, as well as the SV650. So those are my top two, SV and that Ninja, but I just have more time on the Ninja, so it just made a lot of sense. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, great questions, you guys. Like, I knew I wasn't going to avoid the best beginner bike question for a long time. Let me go back to Instagram. What's your favorite bike? My favorite bike, hands down, is the Aprilia Tuono. Absolutely not a good first bike for people. It's a Savage. YouTube live, bruh. Someone's trying to figure out where to find me. Come on in. Yeah. We're just hanging out. Just talking bikes and shit. Yeah. Aprilia Tuono is my best and favorite motorcycling experience. How tall am I? Not too tall, so you need to factor that into. Kind of. Your first bike, you're going to want to put your feet flat on the ground because it's going to feel more safe and more secure. You ride the piss out of that thing for 2 months, and you're going to be so good at putting a toe down to balance you at a stoplight that level of precision or comfort, I guess, is not necessarily needed. You can get a little bit of a taller bike. It's fine. I've seen, 5'2" to 5'4" girls riding Hayabusas and shit that aren't dropped. So it takes a little bit to get up to that. But a lot of that, ask your trainer in your class some good questions on like, hey, should I get a lowering kit or whatever? To answer your question though, I am I'm 6'3" minus 7 inches. No, I'm like 5, almost 9, I guess. 5'9" on a really good day with high sneakers. In boots, I'm 5'9.5". My boots have thicker soles on them and shit, so it's a little easier to maneuver around. But you want basically between a 31 and 33 inch seat height on the bike, and when you sit on it, the suspension's going to compress enough where if it's a little taller, get on it, sit down on it, relax all your weight and stuff, see where it settles. You can adjust that a little tiny bit. But again, with super sports, like if you jump into like a 600, like a Super Sport Ninja 600 or a YZF-R6 or, you know, some shit like that, your ass is going to be so high in the air because the angle of the bike is like this. So you're tucked in, your butt's way up, like Triumph Daytona and the Yamaha R1 are the two most uncomfortable. You know, you're tippy toeing. They're pretty light, like to maneuver even when they're at a standstill, but they're full thoroughbred race bikes, dude. So, you know, they're kind of built that way. See, Erin's 5'5" and she can rest flat foot on the Ninja Z650. Yeah. So she's got the naked version of the Ninja, the Z650, killer platform. It doesn't work for me. It feels like I'm riding a scooter a little bit just because the seat on the new ones are so low and comfortable where you can flat foot a large different ratio of sizes for inseam that it's going to be a little more comfortable for long riding, but your feet are directly underneath you. My Tuono is basically an RSV4 super bike with flat bars on it. So it still has high rear sets where it doesn't have like lower pegs like normal bikes. I think I'm just used to that now, where I've got a little more of a flat position for my lower body, kind of sits into the bike like a super sport. And then my upper body is straight up and down or barely canted forward. And then I grab the bars out here. So it's more aggressive than the Z650 or the Ninja, but less aggressive than an RSV4 or a super sport of any size and weight. So yeah. But the suspension will compress a little bit, and you can adjust that a tiny little bit. So make sure if you roll out of there in factory settings that you actually get the suspension adjusted to your height and your weight and all that stuff. But 31 to 33 inch seat height is probably going to fit that guy that's chilling between like 5'6" to 6 foot is probably good. I mean, she's 5'5", even though she's on the Z650. If you get a SV650 from Suzuki, depending on how old it is, the seat height will change a tiny little bit on those. But like the heavier O1s and stuff like that, they have a pretty static seat height that's a little more akin to a 90s Super Sport, and not as aggressive as like the brand new Super Sports. But yeah, she can flat foot her Z pretty easily. Yeah, it's a good point. If you can go test drive 4 or 5 bikes to see how they feel, even if you're going to end up going with a used bike, at least you'll have good perspective on what the you know, how it behaves on the road, how it reacts to you, how it feels, the size, all that stuff. Seat height, pegs, are they adjustable? The handlebars, can you adjust those? All that stuff matters. But I feel like 31 to 33 is that sweet spot for sports standards, for sure. God, these are good deals. I want to buy one just because they're a good deal and have a second bike. Like, I got my commuter. God, look at that. Brand fucking new. $6,200 out the door. Woo, lad. Here's the other thing. Like, in terms of coronavirus stuff right now, interest rates are amazing if you want to go lease a new motorcycle. If you've got the income and the credit score, Jesus, I mean, you're getting really, really good interest rates right now because nobody's buying stuff and the economy needs all the help it can get. Yeah. What were your thoughts? I lost the footage from that day. What were your thoughts on you rode the Suzuki 750 when you were looking at that second bike? It was the, let's see, GSX S. 750, I believe you rode. And that would have been your second bike because you came off the GSX-F 500. And the Jix S 1000 is a pretty powerful machine too. The 750 is like their version of the middleweight. Got to go down, take the written. Yeah, yeah. See, it's interesting, dude, because in Washington, yeah, you can finance bikes. I don't think you can lease them. GS 500F, that's right. But what was the GS XS, that red one that you rode, the 750? What were your thoughts on that? I know that's probably not a really good beginner bike. It is only $8,500 new. Seat height 32.28 inches. Its curb weight with fuel in it is 470 pounds. And it's got a lot of get up and go to it. It's a 16 valve inline 4 749cc bike. Pretty sharp too. I mean, I like naked bikes. I like muscle bikes, you know, the Italian Street Fighter look. Obviously I ride a Tuono and stuff, but like the GSX-S, the BMW S1000 single R, those are kind of like more my style bikes. They're quite a bit more comfortable than their super sport counterpart. They principally always have the same engine in them. They're just tuned a little differently. And they have less fairings and stuff, but there's usually options to throw bags on the back and stuff like that. So the wheelbase you were a fan of, the frame length was a little shorter. Yeah, the foot placement's high. Yeah. So again, like my Tuono, it's got super sport rear sets on it. So your feet are back behind you. They're a lot higher up. It's not like a drop peg like a beginner. So good, probably second bike. I would think. Not natural feeling of footing, right? Like, and so you've ridden my Tuono, kind of the same thing, right? Like really high foot placement. It's got the RSV4 rear sets on it. Just more of a flat bar instead of a full, you know, full tuck or whatever. Good road bike though. I just want to get out and ride. Not a natural feeling of footing. Didn't really have good ABS. Yeah. Or didn't have any ABS actually. So my buddy Motovex, the guy that you is shitting the entire time on the Tuono. My buddy Motovex bought a Kawasaki H2SX. He's been trying to get me to ride it. I will do a review on this channel of it. The timing hasn't been right. Coronavirus, weather. I mean, Seattle weather sucks. It's windy and rainy again out there. I'm stoked he got the touring version of the H2 because he's the other rider that does the California trip with us. He was the guy on the that wild like sheet metal Harrier jet looking Ninja 6 that we rode down there when we met you. I guess it was last year. Anyway, now he's got one with a supercharger on it. The bike is fucking crazy, but has the option for hard luggage. It's got a lot, like the cockpit looks like you're in a fighter jet. It's got, you know, heated grips on it. I think it has cruise control. It's got quick shift up and down. It's got a lot of refinements, and he's not going to outgrow the power because it's ridiculous. Like, I think with a tune and that supercharger, it's over 220 horsepower, I think. That's a lot for basically a 600-pound bike. It is a little heavier than mine, but much faster. 6-speed, fucking crazy. So he's got a dope bike. I think that thing is every bit of $23,000 new. But it's comfortable. It's fast as shit. He can tour on it. He can beat most sports cars, if not all of them. He's definitely quicker than me. I no longer have the fastest bike among our friends. So, but yeah, I'm going to do a review on that. Yeah, all the bike with the custom work on it. Yeah, so that's the guy. So he bought the bike with the supercharger in it from Cowie, the SX, and it's gorgeous and it does a lot of cool stuff. It's a little heavier, but it's a lot faster. Beautiful bike. I cannot wait to do a full fucking review on that thing. The timing wasn't right. He's like, hey, we want to give it a spin, this and that. We're going to want to get some twisties on it a little bit. I want to put it on the freeway a little bit. Or if I can get to a closed environment, I'm sure he would too. Like to do like a quarter mile or something on it would be fun too. I'm not as big a fan of going fast in a like drag race style straight line. I enjoy doing corners and, changing my speeds, changing my gears. I like working through the gears. He did keep that custom bike though, if you're wondering. That's going to be like a piece of art for him. I think he said he's going to try and turn it into a table later on, like French it into like a living room table or something like that. I think it'd be cool. He's got to get the battery out of it, the fluids out of it, clean it up, take all the rough edges off of it. So like he doesn't stub his toe on any piece of it or break shit. But yeah, he finally retired it and got a bike that's 2.5 times as fast. But I'll tell you what, like with hard luggage and shit in a back rack, if he wants to put one on there, like he's going to have no problem at all doing long tours on that thing. And still look pretty stylish and be quite a bit faster than the rest of us. So he's got that in spades. And I got a gut feeling like I'll have to actually ride this thing, but I got a gut feeling that it's going to be a lot smoother too. Like all the gear changes, all that stuff. My bike is a fucking savage, dude. Like if I take the rider aids off, especially, it growls. It's got a crazy like banshee scream at high end. The torque is nutty down low. It's very, very short wheelbase. So it's easy to flip into corners, and with, wide flat bars way out here, getting the right amount of force and angle when I'm leaning into turns, like you can chuck this bike into corners and stuff. And it's pretty wild. But the short wheelbase, I mean, it's based off the RSV4, which Aprilia essentially built to fit Max Biaggi in MotoGP. And Max Biaggi is like 5'4" Italian dude, so like it's short, a little tall, everything's pretty compact. And, when I'm on it with the wide bars and everything, it's nothing to throw that thing on its side at almost any speed and go. It's very flickable. I think mine weighs 420 to 450 total pounds, fully loaded and wet, full of gas and oil and all that. But that's my jam. I like doing corners. I like, changing speeds. I can do the fast stuff and the slow stuff, but I mostly commute and I mostly tour when I'm on it for days and days and days on end. So is it the best touring bike? Probably not. Like I've only got a few more years before it's too uncomfortable to ride, I think, long distance. But it's also was kind of like that Lamborghini poster on the wall as a kid. I've always wanted this bike since they made it. I really loved it. So I'm stoked I own it. Plus it's a very rare color for Aprilia to come out with. So I have a really nice one. I like it. But his bike is going to be faster. I got a feeling it's going to be smoother. I got a feeling the torque is going to be a lot different. I think mine will come on really savagely. I think his is going to come on relatively linear. I think it's going to be blisteringly fast everywhere. And he has, he's got a tune on it. He's got, what else has he got? Air filter, a tune. He's got some cool carbon bits on it, so it looks pretty nice. I can't remember what else he did to it. But eventually he's getting an exhaust too, and it's going to be fucking dope. So yeah, I got a notification from a close buddy of mine about buying a scooter. He wants to get a scooter, and I think that's fucking dope. What's the one he said he was going to get? Honda Ruckus, which if I was to buy a scooter, that would be the one. I like the way they look. I like the two headlight situation. I like the bench seat. There's a whole aftermarket that you can customize those things. They're automatics. They're not real motorcycles or scooters. You can get little knobby tires for them. They're pretty quick though. I feel like it's like a 250 cc. Let's Google. Let's use that internet. Honda Ruckus. Yeah. It's a 50, isn't it? Yep, 49 cc. Liquid cooled 4-stroke single. 114 miles per gallon. That's fucking saving on fuel right there. That'd be a really fun way to get to the supermarket and back, I think. Get the little Zoomer Ruckus. $2,700. A billion miles to the gallon. Cool headlights, like, you know, looks fun. Like, I'm not sure I would get one for any other reason than, you know, buzzing around the city and here and there. But you're going to want to get to my buddy that's going to buy one. You're at least going to want to get gloves and a helmet for sure. I recommend boots too, but and a jacket, I guess. But gloves and a helmet are for sure, because you don't want to wreck on one of those and go down on your skin for sure. Chase. Touring on a motorcycle sounds amazing. I've been watching Motorcycle Adventure, a bunch of Australian. Oh, yeah. Dude, if you want to watch, if you're locked up and you're not going anywhere because of maybe a global pandemic, I don't know if that's relevant. Check out Ewan McGregor, the guy that did the Obi-Wan stuff. He put out 2 like multi episode adventure series movies called Long Way Down and Long Way Round. And they're on big like BMW or KTM adventure bikes. And they go, I think, from England all the way around the Horn of South Africa and back. And I don't remember where they went the first time. They might have gone into like Russia or someplace. But it's filmed over like several months. And they just did a whole documentary on it. And it's fucking awesome, dude. It's a cool watch. And I like Ewan McGregor because, you know, he's fucking Obi-Wan. What would you say was the most difficult thing for you as a new rider? Riding with other people was the most difficult part. It took me about a day to get comfortable. Like I would just ride around the block a little bit. And it took me about a full day to be like, all right, I'm going to go out into traffic now. You know, I'm going to get on the freeway, and I got right back off on the next exit. The freeway is so much simpler, safer, and easier than riding around at way slow speeds in the suburbs, because you're all going the same direction. You're all going roughly the same speed. So when actions happen, they're easier to predict, and they happen almost in slow motion. What you got to watch out for is motherfuckers on their phones when they're driving, because they just dip over into your lane. You got to be cognizant of that, right? You have to always be looking and make sure you can anticipate stuff. If someone puts a blinker on and starts moving at the same time, you know, keep good distance, slow down. Or if you're next to them, it's okay to speed up and get past them. Semi trucks, that kind of stuff. You can see, you know, gap, give yourself a good gap and hang out behind the 18 wheeler until you know you've got enough room to pass them and there's no cars in front, like up here, and speed up and pass them all at once. You know, flash your lights as you go by or whatever. You'll get the hang of it. But riding with other people, other motorcyclists, was the hardest part in my first year, because, bro, you're trying to keep up with your buddies. You're trying to not be the last guy in line. There's like a whole wealth of shit. Oh, there's somebody at my door. Hang on. Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
Figure out what size you need?
I think so. We're just doing some YouTube live still.
Yeah. Oh, still?
Yeah.
Hanging out. My buddy Jay stopped by. But yeah, I think there he is. Very good. We're talking about motorcycling and like starting out.
Oh, good. I'll wait for the sneaker cast.
Yeah, no, we'll let you know ahead of time for that. I think riding with other people is probably the toughest part. And are you just gonna dip?
They saw my face. They already know how legal I am.
That's true.
I've parked as such too. So.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
All right. I'll holler at you in a bit then. Thank you for that.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. He's dropping some a shoe rack off for me, which is cool. But making sure when you're in a group of people that you're remaining safe and not trying to be competitive with other people. That was hard. Trying to absorb everyone's advice when you're new is also really hard because a lot of it you're just going to have to figure out. Like you're going to have to ride your own ride. People go, oh, never do this, or this is how you're supposed to brake, or that's how you hit a corner. Cornering takes a long time and to get right, you know, getting to understand the environment that you're riding in is also very, very important. So, what's up, Jay? He just took off. I think riding in an environment that you know is important because you know how the road is in a car, right? You know where the roads go to, stuff like that. When you start to adventure out into spots that you've never ridden before, that's where cornering makes a lot of difference. And you've got to really have a seriously concerted effort to ensure that if you don't know what's on the other end of a corner, you know, and really that goes for everywhere because of cars and deer and whatever else. But in an environment that you don't know, you're not sure what's around the corner, you could start to pay attention to a lot and start to overthink stuff. And it can be kind of way more complicated than it should be. Keep your head up and your eyes as far out as you can, looking for that exit. You're good to go. Like the rest is natural. What you'll find is the better you get at cornering and, you know, the more consistent you are looking through your turns and all this stuff, what'll spook you is when you like look down at something else and you realize how tipped over your bike is. That can kind of freak you out when you're new. But all that aside, the hardest part of motorcycling when I was in my first year, I think, was riding with other motorcycle riders. So like, you just got to get used to your bike, you know, get used to how you ride it, get used to how it responds. You'll get there, man. It's fucking awesome. The best part about motorcycling is how connected you are with the environment. Like there's not a cell phone to fucking distract you. There's not, you know, I mean, I can listen to music or whatever, but there's not like radio stations and other shit where your eyes aren't on the road. Like you see stuff. A motorcyclist sees everything that happens inside of a car at all times, 100%. When you pull up next to people, when you're riding next to people, you can see everything they're doing. They're on their phone, if they're picking their nose, like it's hilarious. So then you take that information back to when you're driving and you see other motorcyclists. Oh, they can see everything I'm doing. It's kind of comical. For sure. But I feel like, the smells, you know, you smell fresh cut grass, barbecues, you know, like all that shit. You get a lot more connectedness when you're on a motorcycle than you do anywhere else. And it's awesome. So I love it. I encourage everyone to give it a shot. I think for you, if I had to guess, I would say another hard part of like getting used to stuff is I do not have the ability to lane filter in Washington State. It's against the law to ride between cars, even at super low speeds or whatever. That's a California only thing. And what you'll learn is that when you're in California, because everyone's so used to that law and that fact and other riders, most of the cars kind of move out of the way. Like if you're riding up to them, a lot of them will kind of give you space. Some of them won't. Some of them don't pay attention and don't see you. And you're going through, you got to be really, really aware because a lot of people are jumping in and out of lanes. I've seen some people hanging their arm out the window, throwing stuff out the window. It's pretty bizarre. That's an added element to motorcycling. especially commuting in California state, that's going to be different for you. We do it when we're in California, and it took me probably the first 2 trips to like anticipate how to safely get through that without, you know, cutting cars at 105 miles an hour on the freeway type of shit. I just don't ride that way, you know. But it took me a good couple of times being down there for a few days on end where I'm like, now I can comfortably get through. And it's actually way nicer to have the ability to filter through cars and get where I'm going and get out of other people's way, because it's very easy to get cars that aren't paying attention to you when they come up even behind you. Like they're looking right through you. Some, like I had a guy in the I-90 bridge, traffic was backing up. All these cars are slowing down on the freeway to a stop. I stop and I look in my mirror and I can see this guy just head down, and I'm like, he's on his phone for sure. And he just kept coming. And by the time he looked up and saw me, he slammed on his brakes. I had already moved into the fucking breakdown lane and just was watching this guy show up. Full four-wheel lock. Fucking slides to a complete stop right where I would have been. And I was just like, fuck you, dude. Somewhere on one of my hard drives, I have that. I was looking for a place to cut that in. But yeah, you definitely move and watch for bikes in traffic, and you'll see them everywhere when you get your own license too. They'll like pop out at you because you're just more subconsciously, now consciously aware. So getting rear-ended is pretty easy to have happen when you did nothing wrong, just because someone looks right through you. They don't see you there. That's happened to me once. Another thing that's happened to me was checking both ways when I'm pulling out of a shopping center onto the road. You know, I'm here, I look this way, I see a woman who's at the next driveway over, about ready to pull out my way. And she waves me through, and I gave her a thumbs up. I literally took my hand off the bar, gave her a thumbs up. I checked this way for traffic and looked back again, right as I was about to go. If I hadn't looked back a second time, she already just pulled out and went. And I was like, thanks. If I would have just like checked that way and then went, she would have smashed right into me. So you always just got to be aware of other people. I mean, I could tell you like tons of horror stories, but to be few and far between, like most of the time people are pretty good at it. Here in Seattle, it rains a lot and people know that, and they all drive terribly in the rain. It happens a ton here. Everyone should be used to it, but that's when people get the shittiest behind the wheel of a car. So like, little different circumstances, I think, for us than your environment. But I appreciate that you always move and watch out for bikes while in traffic, because we love it. Lane splitting needs to be legal everywhere. It's absolutely asinine that every other country on planet Earth has way more motorcycles than we do, the primary means of transportation. And then the only state we have in the entire country that allows it is California, and everyone else is adamantly against it. It's just a better way to move, I think. So yeah, these are great questions though. What else? So we want to do a motorcycle review on the H2 SX. Probably going to do for some of the local guys too. I think we're going to do a meetup when all this coronavirus stuff is over. I want to do a bike meetup and a car meetup for those of you that are wondering about the car situation. We got a lot that we'd like to do, and coronavirus is keeping us from doing that. So working on that. But I feel like that's probably it. We've been up for a couple hours. I think I got through all my questions. I'll cross-check even had a buddy stop by. How about that? I'm pretty illegal. Yeah, you are, you savage. I feel like that's it. Helmet, cameras, bikes, short of going through all my jackets and pants and stuff and boots. I feel like that's a good place to kick it, man. Thank you guys for stopping by. I know we've got a few lurkers too. Thank you guys for hanging out, having me on in the background. Hopefully this was fun. Hopefully we learned a little bit. It's pretty fun. Motorcycling is amazing. And I hope to put up some more content as soon as this coronavirus shit is over with and I can get out there and do it. God damn it. But yeah, appreciate Chase, Aaron stopping by, all my lurkers in the back of the studio. Thank you guys. Also, I got a podcast if you guys want to check it out. More long form conversation. A little more freer with what I say. It's called Pathway, the number 2 being average. Go check that out. It's everywhere. Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, you name it. Google, we're there. Pathway to being average, but number 2. Gucci, keep the questions coming in. We'll do this again in a little while. This was super fun. Sorry, I had some technical difficulties. I know I went live and then not, and then live a couple of times. It's trying to figure out the audio setup with some new software I downloaded. So it's been super fun. Look forward to seeing you guys very, very soon. And deuces, friends.